All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Dance Studio Network podcast. We are back jumping in with Miss Lizzy. If you watched our last episode, she was sharing a little tidbit of what it was like to dance growing up in the studio and some of the culture of what it's like, what you need to focus on. So lots of fun, lots of gold nuggets in there. But now for part two, we wanted to make the transition, the transition of, okay, you danced in the studio, you've graduated out, and what happened next?
Well, I've always known that I wanted to be a teacher. Since I was the age of 3, that's what I told everyone. I was going to be a teacher, and I went to college for elementary education and everything, and I started assisting classes while I was still a student at Allen Dance Studio, and kind of shared my passion for teaching, and I was given the amazing opportunity to be able to teach. And so I started with just summer camps. And I was teaching those little 3 to 6 year old princess camps, frozen camps. And I was doing that every summer, and I loved it. It was kind of like how I stayed connected with the studios. Even after I graduated high school, every summer I'd come back and I'd teach camps and do some classes. And it was such a joy for me. I love the little ones. I also just loved being able to teach and be creative and kind of share that passion with the little ones. And from there, after I graduated college, I came back to teach school. And then I kind of jumped into teaching classes during the regular season and also helping with the competitive team, which was kind of full circle for me after graduating.
No, I mean, that was a big jump. So, going from student then to student kind of assisting, then taking on some classes, and then getting kind of a little bit more involved in that process. And, I always find it fascinating because this is kind of like the first fruits of our growth and development from the time we started, back in 2011 to now. We're watching students grow up with the cultural background, understanding, and heart that we have. And that's why I think we connect so well. But it's neat to see you make the transition from student to teacher.
Yeah.
So for some of these kids that are maybe coming up on that junior, senior year, what's some tips that you would maybe give to them to say, hey, if you're interested in kind of learning what the transition from out of, being the student all the time, learning how to teach and share your passion, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I would say definitely share your interest, because that's the first way. If no one knows that you're interested, nothing's going to happen. So share your interest and really start assisting classes. I think that's where I learned a lot about what I still do in my pre-classes now is by watching others teach. And when you're a teenager, you're not in those pre-classes, so you don't know what's going on. But going into even just assist and kind of start learning some of those skills that you might need in your own studio classroom. And then from there, moving up to maybe subbing. I know we have our substitute teacher program now for our older high school students. And so that's always another option to kind of start inching your way in is kind of, subbing a class here or there whenever you can and kind of gaining some experience. And it's really just about that, is kind of learning, kind of transitioning from your brain from being just a student, but also observing what the teacher is doing in the classroom. So not just focusing on okay, this is what I'm doing when I enter the studio and what happens from the beginning to the end, but also make notes of oh, okay, that's how the teacher corrects someone, or that's how they kind of break things down and kind of make it into a simpler thing, so it's not such a crazy combination or skill or whatever it is. So kind of breaking it down and just kind of observing more of the teacher side of things and focusing on that rather than just you as a student. Because it is different.
It is. I mean, I think you made a couple points there. When you're a student, you just kind of you go in and you're just thinking about yourself, right? What you need to do. And when you're the facilitator, you're making sure everybody's doing what they need to along with the choreography that's maybe being issued. So, again, I know it's kind of a mental switch.
For sure.
Going from performing to learning how to teach. And that's hard. Some people grow up and they're just performers for life. They're oh, I can never teach because I can't, And I'm man, you have so much to give. People would benefit from your knowledge. Don't hog it all to yourself, share your gift. Like you said, share your interests. So, for kids that are getting started, I guess, look at possibilities of getting subs. learning how to, garner that trust from maybe your instructor who says, hey, if something happens or I'm out sick, like I can trust you to uphold this class to the standard that I want.
Yeah.
And, that's pressure. And that's responsibility. And I think those are a great little recipe for developing, young adults and leaders.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
And also, learning how to deal with the challenges when, younger kids don't respond to you.
I was going to say teaching takes a lot of patience.
A little bit or a lot of patience? Huh?
A lot at times. Sometimes it's easier than others, but yeah, it takes a lot of patience. And it's kind of, I've heard of like, people trying to teach and they're like, I don't get it. Like I can do it. I don't get why they can't do it. Yeah. And it's like, well, like also you've been doing this a little bit longer. Like some things come natural to others and it may take some other people a little bit more. So it kind of takes that patience and that understanding of like, okay, I need to teach it. And then they may not get it the first try, but I just need to keep with them and be patient and be respectful of them and their growth. And that's really important as a teacher. Cause if you're not patient with them, it can get frustrating sometimes.
Well, it's you have to be, objective. And, when you're dancing a number, you're focused on everything about your choreography. But when you're the one who's, facilitating that whole thing, you have to worry about everybody. So, getting your mind to shift. What else was really helpful for you mentally to shift by letting go of like, hey, I'm the performer to I'm now the teacher?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I learned early on, even with like choreographing pieces for like competitions and stuff, is like what's natural to you may not be natural to someone else. So like a movement that you really like and can do and it looks great may not look great on everybody. So it's about like kind of being aware of the people that you're teaching or choreographing for or anything like that and kind of building them up and knowing what they need. I feel like learning from them as well is really important as a teacher, because if you're just going in and you're like, okay, this is what
how I'm
going
to do it. Yeah.
And this is exactly how it's going to go. Like it's never going to go exactly how you want it to. And so you have to be receptive to the students as well. Like I've had students be like, hey, like I really want to work on this. And you have to go with that. Like I may have had a whole plan of how that class was going to go, but then, they're like, I really need to work on this skill. And you're like, okay, so you have to kind of be flexible in it as well.
That's good. I think that's a good point. Learning how to be flexible to change, which, when you grew up as a dancer, your whole life is that change. And then you're like, hey, I kind of want to have something set, but then it's not, you know, like you're just on the other side of it, on the other side of the coin. And to your point, some kids' movement doesn't look the same. And that's hard because sometimes, you want to put choreography on people and maybe it doesn't look good on the whole group. So how do you balance that out mentally as well?
It's a lot of trial and error. You try it, and if it works, great. If not, then you listen to your dancers, you watch, and you kind of learn like what works for them, and obviously you still want to challenge them and push them and give them new things to work on, but you also don't want to give them too much where they're overwhelmed. And so it's like kind of finding that balance between like what you like and what you want it to look like, and also what is a good choice for the dancer.
Yeah, those are all good. I mean, that's the whole like balancing act of it. So, all right. So what's it been like now? Again, working some of the competition side. Having been on the recipient end, what's that been like for you? I'm gonna take a drink here of our delicious water. Go ahead.
That's probably been like the biggest shift for me, because I've been in their shoes before. I have performed on stage. I've been in that competitive setting. So it's like whenever I shifted to a teacher and I was, sitting in the audience and not on stage, that was probably one of the hardest things for me, because, you prep these students, you give them all the tools that they need to succeed, and then you have to sit in the audience and you sit back and you just watch, and you just hope that you've prepared them enough and they have the confidence to get out there and do what you've been working on. I always tell them, I'm like, we've been doing it in the studio for months. All you have to do is get out there and do it on stage and perform it. And it's like when you're sitting there watching and you have absolutely no control of what goes on, like that's really hard.
I was gonna say, because I always watch like teachers in the audience when their kids are dancing. And it's funny because there's like a strain and a stress, and you're like moving through the motions and watching the kids, and there's so much that pressure you feel, just as if you were still on that stage. Yeah. Right. So I think it's neat for kids, like when you got to perform, like you're not just representing yourself, you're representing your instructor. And so how you handle yourself on stage or backstage or how you talk to others, like that's all a reflection. of that mentor with you. And so you obviously want to have a positive outward expression. And, the competition circuit's really interesting. If you've never danced at a competition, you've got studios from all over, various levels of degrees. Some people are beginners, some intermediate, some advanced. Some kids are dancing, 5 hours a week. Some are 10, 15. And advanced dancers are like 20 to 30 hours a week. So like having that perspective, for some of the new competition dancers, that's hard sometimes. They're like, oh, this kid's so amazing. They're my age. And I'm like, well, you're taking 8 classes a week and that person is taking like 25. Yeah. There should be a difference,
There's definitely a learning curve when you first start competing for sure. Yeah. Understanding all the ins and outs of it can be a little difficult.
Oh, that's cool. Well, jumping back into kind of the business side of this now, tell them what you're doing now. So, I mean, we snuck you away from the Allen district, and you joined us officially last June. June, and now you've been full time with the Dance Studio Network. So, what's that feel like? I mean, on live camera,
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a big shift. I love teaching. I still love teaching, obviously. Yeah. I still get to do it through the studio, but I did take a step back from, the traditional classroom to work full time. And it has been such a great experience. I have learned a lot. You know stuff about like what's going on at the studio as a student, and then you kind of become a teacher and it kind of opens up a little bit wider. Yeah. And then now being here full time and seeing more behind the scenes of everything that's going on, like Is
it more than you thought it was?
It's a lot. Yeah. There's a lot going on. And plus from when I first started at the studios, in 2013 to now, like so much has changed even since then. Like it's crazy. So it's been amazing. Like I've learned so much. I've met so many more people. Like I've been at all the locations. So I've gotten to meet a lot more families and get to know more dancers. And so it's just been like a really cool experience to kind of dive deeper into like what I thought I knew. And now like there's so much more to it than what I originally thought.
No, I love it. I mean, again, like getting behind the curtain and being like, oh my gosh, there's, talk about like the event planning,
Yes.
How many competition entries do you have to handle?
So many.
So, I mean, there's a lot.
I was going to say, I think between like all 3 studios, like it's insane. We have like over 100 soloists and all these dances. And so it's been a lot to like handle, but it's also been such a cool experience to kind of see what goes into it. Yeah. I have been handling competition registrations, which I've been going to these competitions for so long. I'd never even thought about like the other side of like, the process of actually going to the competitions and what it takes to prep for that. And then, planning these events and getting all of our teams together, all of our dancers and families together has been so amazing. And I'm really excited about other events we have coming up.
I know.
And, we have our banquet coming up that I've been prepping for. So it's really exciting.
And how far ahead do we plan?
Really far in advance. Like we're already talking about next season, and this season kind of just started, but we're always thinking about the next thing and how we can grow and get better and how we can improve.
Well, I think, and that's been the fun part is, watching our team grow in collaboration. And collaboration is imperative for any company to be successful, let alone a group of artists with varying degrees and backgrounds and expertise and, all the emotions from, all the things that they've grown up used to. And so we've kind of said like, hey, we're the Dance Studio Network. We're going to bring a sense of stability across, multiple cities to say, have that local plug-in, but have the backing of a really big team. And so like, some people may not know this, but, you're serving all 3 locations. So whether people see you or not, you're behind the scenes working, tirelessly on everything that I can throw at you as well that I can't, carry just by myself. And, that's the fun part of this is I think, when you're a kid, you get the joy of learning what it's like to have good teamwork, through dance, through expression. And now growing up, you're like, cool, I'm kind of combining 2 of those things still together. And now we're doing it professionally and in a career-driven, perspective instead of just maybe, if it's a hobby, it's a hobby. But for us, this is our career path is driving excellence in dance and through the arts and the communities that we serve and making sure we have the right people equipped. So, one, I love having you part of this team. It's been really fun to, connect and, hear the ideas and vision And any other insight, I'd say, to the administrative side that you'd love for parents to maybe know, or things to say, hey, maybe ease off the gas a little bit when some of those special requests get thrown at me.
Just have a little patience. There are 3 studios with lots of things going on, lots of teams, lots of people. So it's just, there is a lot that I work on every single day that I'm going through messages and trying to communicate and make sure everyone has all the information. It's like you said, like sometimes I'm messaging people and they've never like seen me in person. So then they see me in person, they're like, oh, wait, you're the one that I was just messaging this morning. And I was like, yeah, like I'm kind of like behind the curtain a little bit. Like I am at all 3 studios, but not everyone sees me. So it's like, it's a very interesting dynamic, but it's, just have a little patience. I will get to your messages.
Yeah, I know. It's hard because it's, this industry moves fast. And I think that's what makes it fun. It makes it exciting, but it also is the creative collective challenge to be able to go like, okay, we've got competitive teams, we've got ballet company, we've got performance teams, we've got a tap team, we've got a Nutcracker, we've got events, we've got all these different places to be staffed, to be equipped. And that's our goal, is to make sure our students are well equipped, supported, and, our team is able to serve in a way that creates that capacity for kids to grow in. But course. At the same time, there's only so many people to go around, right? Like there's only so much.
Yeah.
And I think, again, hopefully we've done a great enough job, whether you see her or not at certain various times, like you feel the support. And that's kind of a hard thing, right, to shift from.
Yeah.
So, like before you're kind of like, you're in the limelight. And then now it's kind of like, you're not always in the limelight. Like
it's behind the scenes.
It's behind the scenes. And, I think, people need to know that, because there's so much more than just, we turn on the lights and dance.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot happening.
There's a lot
that no one even knows about. And it's so funny, like even the kids, they like, whenever they hear things that are going on, I'm like, yeah, I've known about that for about 6 months.
Yeah.
Like they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, we've been like super excited to tell you guys. Like it's just, there's so many things to it that like we're prepping for that like no one even knows. Yeah. And that's like the best feeling, is like when you've been prepping for something for so long and then it gets announced and everyone's like super excited and you're like, okay, it was worth it. Like all of that work was worth it.
It's great momentum to have. And I think that's what we want to continue with, is building that momentum and, making sure people know like, hey, you've got an incredible team of people that love you, like sincerely. And I think that's one thing I want this audience to really know, is the team that we have that works for our studios, like their heart is for your children.
Yeah.
It's really hard to find people who like are authentic even nowadays, given social media issues, like people who take time to be present with you. That's what I love about our team.
Well, and that's like one of my favorite parts, and what I've loved so much about being full-time is I have been able to make more connections with families from all the studios. Like I've been able to talk to them and kind of get to know them more, and that's like such a great thing to like see the community that we are building and get to know them a little bit deeper. And I've been sharing like stuff about my past with them and growing up, and it's fun to hear. It's always fun to like kind of share a little behind the scenes, because not everyone knows that I've been here for so long, and so it's kind of fun to like share that with them and then hear their stories and really connect with those families as well.
I love it. Well, we're gonna pause there. We'll have to bring you back because there's so much more. There's so much more we got to dive into. But I wanted you guys to get a little taste of Miss Lizzy today, with sharing her experiences growing up in the studio and now working with us full time. And again, that's our goal, is to provide that career level opportunity for people to progress, whether it's through dance as a hobby, dance as college drive, or professional teacher and person who works in this industry professionally for the rest of your life, so there's a lot that I'm thankful we've been able to tackle those goals despite the challenges we had to face the last few years with the shutdowns. And we watched a lot of good people, a lot of good doors had to be closed because of that. And so we're thankful to be here, but just say, hey, like, we're brushing off, those soft term challenges, and we're ready to pick up momentum. Mm-hmm. So if you see me or you see Lizzy, please stop by, say hello, thank her for sure. She's incredible. You're really an incredible, authentic person. And for me, that is what I'm all about, is, connecting with people that are real and genuine, because it's not an act, it's just who we are. Mm-hmm. And for us, it's like, cool, I'm just excited to share what we're doing. Versus like, I got to sell you, some plants or something, I don't know, like maybe it's good for you. I don't know, kind of random. But, the point is it's fun to work in an environment where people love to work together. And, when challenges pop up, instead of like freak out, what do we do? It's like, all right, let's take a logical approach to this opportunity to pivot yet again.
Got it all under control.
And then you solve it and move on. So again, thanks for jumping in today. Again, hope you all enjoy a little time with us, and stay tuned for more. We're going to have some more fun episodes, diving up into dance and everything that it takes to make it happen. So if you love dance as much as us, stick around. We'll have some more episodes coming back to you shortly. Again, thanks for joining me. I'm Jonathan Chatham, the host of the Dance Studio Network podcast. Until next time.